The room goes completely quiet when my sister drops the photo onto the Thanksgiving table. Everyone looks at me like I'm a stranger. "You destroyed this family," she says, her voice shaking, "and you know exactly what you did." My parents don't say a word. Not one person asks if I'm okay. I slowly look around the table at the people I spent my whole life protecting. Then I smile. Because they still don't know what my aunt has been keeping in that old wooden box for 15 years. I don't argue. I don't cry. I simply turn toward my aunt and say, "It's time, open it." And the second the lid comes off, my sister's face changes. Because what's inside isn't what anyone expected. "My name is Mila Harper, 26, and I'm telling this because my family spent years believing a lie about me, and the truth was hidden inside a box nobody wanted opened. I grew up in a small neighborhood outside Columbus, Ohio, where everyone knew everyone. My family looked perfect from the outside. My parents, Daniel and Rachel Harper, owned a small bakery downtown. My younger sister, Betrayal, was the favorite child. She was charming, confident, and always knew exactly what to say. And me. I was the quiet one. The one who stayed late to clean the bakery. The one who remembered birthdays. The one who fixed problems before anyone even noticed they existed. For years, I thought that meant my family trusted me. I was wrong. The first sign that something was changing happened 2 years before that Thanksgiving dinner. My parents wanted to expand their bakery. They had always dreamed of opening a second location in Cincinnati. I supported them completely. I spent nights helping them organize paperwork, review costs, and create plans. Brielle didn't help much. She would show up, take pictures for social media, and leave before the real work started. But somehow everyone praised her. "She has such a business mind," my mom would say. I would just smile. Because I loved my sister. At least I thought I did. Then one afternoon, I came home and heard my parents talking in the kitchen. They stopped when they saw me. That was the first time I realized they were hiding something. "What's going on?" I asked. My dad forced a smile. "Nothing, sweetheart." But it wasn't nothing. A few weeks later, I found out my parents had changed their business plans. The second bakery location wasn't going to be under the family name anymore. It was going to be called Brielle's Bakery House. I stood there holding the paperwork, staring at the name. My own family had built a future and removed me from it. I didn't even ask for ownership. I just wanted to know why nobody told me. When I confronted them, my sister walked into the room. "You always make everything about yourself," Brielle said. I looked at her. "What are you talking about?" She crossed her arms. "You act like you're the reason this family works. You're not." Those words stayed with me. Because I had spent years believing my sacrifices mattered. Apparently, they only mattered when they needed something. The worst moment came 6 months later. My parents hosted a family gathering. Everyone was there. Aunts, cousins, grandparents. And in front of everyone, Brielle stood up. "I think everyone deserves to know why Mila has been acting strange," she said. I feel my stomach drop. "What?" She looked around the room dramatically. "She has been trying to control everything. She doesn't want this family to succeed without her." I looked at my parents, waiting for them to defend me. My mom looked down. My dad stayed silent. That silence hurt more than anything Brielle said. Because it meant they believed her. After that day, I stopped explaining myself. I moved into a small apartment in Columbus and started building my own life. I got a job at a marketing company. I made new friends. I learned how to be happy without needing my family's approval. But one person stayed close. My Aunt Vanessa. She was my mother's older sister. She was the only person who never looked at me like I was the problem. One night while we were drinking coffee at her house, she brought up something strange. "Mila," she said softly, "there's something I need to give you one day." "What is it?" She looked toward an old wooden box sitting on a shelf. "That box has been waiting for the right moment." I laughed. "What's inside?" She shook her head. "I promised someone I wouldn't open it until the family was ready to hear the truth." I thought she was talking about some old family memory. I never imagined that box would become the reason everything changed. Then came Thanksgiving. The Thanksgiving that destroyed every fake story my family had created. I arrived at my parents' house expecting another uncomfortable dinner. I brought a pie. I smiled. I tried to be polite. But from the moment I walked in, something felt wrong. Everyone was watching me. My sister kept whispering with relatives. My parents avoided eye contact. I knew something was coming. I just didn't know how cruel it would be. The turkey was on the table. Everyone had food in front of them. Then Brielle suddenly placed her glass down. I think we need to talk about Mila. My heart sank. Not again. She stood up. And with every person at that table listening, she told them I was the reason our family was falling apart. She said I was jealous. She said I wanted attention. She said I had spent years pretending to help while secretly wanting control. And everyone believed her. Everyone. That's when I understood something. They weren't waiting for the truth. They had already chosen their side. So I didn't defend myself. I didn't fight. I just looked at my Aunt Vanessa and said 5 words. Open the box. The room froze because nobody knew what was inside. Not even Brielle. My Aunt Vanessa looked at me for a few seconds without saying anything. The entire room was waiting. My sister Brielle rolled her eyes. Seriously, she said, you're going to bring out some random box now? I didn't answer her. I just watched my aunt walk toward the old wooden box sitting near the hallway. It was smaller than I remembered. The corners were worn. The dark wood had scratches from years of being moved around. But somehow, that little box carried more weight than anything sitting on that Thanksgiving table. Vanessa brought it back and placed it in front of everyone. My mother's face changed. Just for a second. But I saw it. Fear. Not anger. Not confusion. Fiera, where did you get that? My mom whispered. My aunt looked at her. You already know. The room became silent. My dad leaned forward. Vanessa, this isn't the time for old family drama. My aunt slowly shook her head. No, Daniel, this is exactly the time. I watched everyone carefully. For years, I had been trying to understand why my family turned against me. Now I finally had my answer sitting right in front of me. But before my aunt opened the box, she looked at me. Are you sure you're ready? I nodded. I've been ready for 15 years. The word shocked everyone. Brielle frowned. What does that mean? I looked at her. It means there are things about our family you never knew. My aunt opened the box. Inside were several old envelopes, a small notebook, a USB drive, and a faded photograph. But the thing that caught everyone's attention was a tiny silver key attached to a piece of paper. My father stood up. Where did you get that? My aunt ignored him. He picked up the photograph first. This was taken before Mila was told the truth. My sister laughed. The truth about what? My aunt looked directly at my parents. That's the question they should answer. My hands tightened under the table. For years, I thought my family rejected me because I wasn't good enough. Because I wasn't as outgoing as Brielle. Because I wasn't the person everyone wanted me to be. But now I realized something. The problem was never me. There was something much bigger happening. My aunt handed me the notebook. I opened it carefully. The handwriting was familiar. It belonged to my grandmother. My grandmother passed away when I was 11. She was the only person in my family who always made me feel special. The first page had one sentence written across it. If Mila ever feels unwanted, she deserves to know what really happened. My heart stopped. I looked at my parents. My mother started crying. Mila, please. For the first time in years, I heard fear in her voice. Not disappointment. Not anger. Fear. I closed the notebook. No. Everyone looked at me. I spent years begging you to explain why you treated me like I didn't belong. You had chances. I looked at my sister. And you had chances too. Brielle's confidence started disappearing. What are you trying to prove? I picked up the USB drive. This. My aunt explained that my grandmother had recorded something before she passed away. Something she wanted me to see when I was old enough to understand. But there was one problem. The laptop needed a password. And nobody knew it. Everyone started guessing. My father tried old family dates. My mother tried birthdays. Nothing worked. Then I remembered something. A phrase my grandmother used to say to me every time I felt sad. I typed the words. The screen opened. And a video file appeared. The name of the file was, For Mila When They Finally Tell You. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. I pressed play. And the first words my grandmother said changed everything. The video started with my grandmother sitting in her old living room. The same room where she used to make cookies with me when I was a child. Her hair was white. Her smile was gentle. But her eyes looked serious. "Mila," she said softly, "if you are watching this, then something happened that I was afraid of." Nobody at the table moved. My mother covered her mouth. My father stared at the floor. My sister looked confused. My grandmother continued. "You have spent your whole life believing you were less important than everyone else. You were never less important. You were the person holding this family together." I felt tears building in my eyes. Not because I was sad. Because for the first time in years, someone finally saw me. My grandmother explained that 15 years earlier, she discovered something about my parents' plans for the family business. Something they never told me. The bakery was not originally meant to belong only to my parents. My grandmother had created a legal trust that protected a percentage of the business for both children. For me and Brielle. But there was a condition. The person who showed the most responsibility and dedication would manage the future expansion. And according to my grandmother's records, that person was me. The room became silent. My sister immediately shook her head. "That's impossible." My aunt looked at her. "Is it?" Brielle looked at my parents. "Tell them she's lying." But my parents said nothing. That silence was the answer. I looked at my father. "So you knew." He looked broken. "Mila." "No." My voice surprised even me. "I spent years thinking I wasn't enough. I thought you were disappointed in me, but you knew the truth and let everyone blame me." My mother started crying. "We were trying to protect the family." I laughed quietly. "Protect the family." I looked around the table. "You destroyed it." My aunt handed me another envelope from the box. "This is not all." Inside was a copy of the original agreement and another letter from my grandmother. The letter explained that she knew there would come a time when someone would try to rewrite the story. She wanted me to have proof. Not revenge. Proof. That was the moment my plan changed. I didn't want to scream. I didn't want to destroy my family. I wanted them to face the truth they had avoided for years. The next morning, I met with a lawyer in downtown Columbus. His name was Evan Brooks. He reviewed everything carefully. "The documents are clear," he said. "Your grandmother created this agreement legally. Your parents couldn't remove your rights without your knowledge." I nodded. "What happens now?" He looked at me. "That depends on what you want." I thought about it. For years, I imagined this moment. I imagined exposing everyone, making them feel the pain I felt. But sitting there, I realized something. The biggest victory wasn't watching them fall. It was finally standing up for myself. I decided to take action. I contacted the bakery's accountant. I requested every record connected to the business expansion. I found out my parents had been using my ideas, my planning documents, and even some of my marketing strategies while telling everyone I was trying to hurt them. The truth was worse than I imagined. They didn't just misunderstand me. They used me. A week later, I returned to the bakery. The same place where I spent years working without recognition. Brielle was there. She looked nervous. "You're really doing this?" I looked at her. "I'm not doing anything to you." "No." I smiled sadly. "But now everyone does." And that was the moment I knew the family story they created was finally starting to collapse. 3 weeks after Thanksgiving, the truth finally reached everyone. Not through rumors. Not through angry conversations. Through facts. The baker's accountant confirmed everything. My grandmother's agreement was real. The documents were real. The decisions my parents made behind my back were real. And the story Brielle told everyone about me was finally falling apart. The hardest part wasn't proving I was right. The hardest part was accepting that the people I loved had allowed a lie to grow for so long. One cold morning in Columbus, Ohio, I stood outside the bakery and watched customers walk in and out. This place held so many memories. I remembered being 16 years old, waking up early before school just to help my parents prepare orders. I remembered missing parties because my family needed help. I remembered believing that one day they would see my effort. Now I knew something important. I didn't need them to see my worth anymore. I already knew it. That afternoon, my parents asked me to meet them inside the bakery. Betrayal was there too. For the first time in months, nobody was pretending. My father looked older. My mother looked tired. And my sister looked completely different from the confident person who stood up during Thanksgiving. Mila, my mom said quietly, we made mistakes. I looked at her. Mistakes happen once. The room went silent. This was a choice. My father looked down. I was scared. Of what? He took a deep breath. That Betrayal would feel like she wasn't important. I almost couldn't believe what I was hearing. So you decided I could feel unimportant instead. Nobody answered. Because there was no answer. Betrayal finally spoke. I thought you were always trying to replace me. I looked at her. Betrayal, I never wanted your place. My voice softened. I wanted my own. That sentence changed something. For the first time, my sister looked at me like a person instead of an enemy. She looked away. I was wrong. Those words didn't fix everything. An apology doesn't erase years of pain. But it was the first honest thing she had said to me in a long time. I decided not to take over the bakery. That surprised everyone. They expected me to fight for control. But I had already won something more important. My freedom. I created my own marketing company and started helping small businesses grow. The same skills my family ignored became the reason strangers trusted me. Months later, my Aunt Vanessa gave me the wooden box. It belongs to you now, she said. I held it carefully. What about the secrets? She smiled. The secrets did their job. I looked inside one more time. The box was almost empty, except for one small note from my grandmother. I opened it. It said, never fight to be accepted by people who refuse to see you. Build a life where your value is impossible to ignore. Those words stayed with me. A year after Thanksgiving, my family gathered again. Not because everything was magically fixed. It was. Just takes time. But this time nobody accused me. Nobody blamed me. Nobody made me feel like I had to prove I belonged. I sat at the same table where my sister once tried to destroy my name. And I realized something. The biggest revenge wasn't making my family lose. It was becoming someone they could no longer overlook. The girl who stayed silent at that Thanksgiving table was gone. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't waiting for an apology anymore. I had my own life. My own dreams. My own voice. In that old wooden box. It stayed with me. Not as a reminder of betrayal, but as proof that the truth always finds a way back home.